Maya Brooks pushed her glasses up her nose as she stared at the computer screen in her lab. The numbers did not make sense. She had been working on quantum physics for 6 years since getting her degree from MIT. But this was different. The machine she built was supposed to bend space just a tiny bit. Instead, it had torn a hole right through it. The lab was quiet at 3 in the morning. Maya liked working when nobody else was around at the International Space Research Consortium building in Chicago. She could think better without all the noise and questions from other scientists. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she did not care. What she was seeing on her instruments was impossible. She had created a wormhole. Not a big one, just the size of a marble, but it was real and it was stable. Through her equipment, she could see it floating in the containment field, a perfect sphere of twisted space that bent light around it. On the other side of that tiny hole was somewhere else entirely. Maybe another part of the galaxy, maybe another galaxy altogether. Maya's hands shook as she saved her data to 3 different drives. This discovery would change everything. Humans could travel to other stars instantly instead of taking hundreds of years. They could explore the whole universe. They could find other life out there in the dark. She did not know that far away, in a place between stars, something had noticed her little experiment. The wormhole had sent waves through space that traveled faster than light. These waves reached sensors that had been watching Earth for a very long time. In a ship made of metal that humans had never seen, alarms began to sound. The creatures on that ship did not look like anything from Earth. They were tall and thin with gray skin that seemed to shift and change. Their eyes were black pools that reflected no light. They had been waiting for this moment for 50 years, ever since they first detected radio signals from the blue planet in the outer rim of the galaxy. The leader of these watchers spoke in a voice like breaking glass. "The humans have developed independent faster-than-light travel," it said to the others. "This cannot be allowed. Send word to the Confederation. Activate the termination protocols." Maya worked through the night, not knowing that her life had just become much shorter. She ran test after test, each one confirming what she already knew. She had broken the laws of physics as humans understood them. She had opened a door to the stars. When Dr. Kevin Martinez arrived at the lab that morning, Maya was still there, surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups. Kevin was her research partner and one of her closest friends. He took one look at her excited face and knew she had found something big. "Maya, you look like you have not slept," Kevin said, hanging up his coat. "What have you been doing all night?" Maya could barely contain her excitement as she showed him the data. Kevin's eyes grew wide as he understood what he was seeing. "Doctor." Lisa Thompson arrived an hour later and had the same reaction. The 3 scientists spent the whole day going over Maya's work, checking and double-checking everything. "This is going to change the world," Lisa whispered as she watched the tiny wormhole spin in its containment field. "We need to call the director. We need to call everyone." But Maya felt uneasy. Something about the whole situation felt wrong, though she could not put her finger on what it was. That feeling got stronger over the next few days as strange things began to happen around the lab. First, Kevin got sick. He said it was just the flu, but Maya had never seen him look so pale and weak. Then Lisa started having headaches that would not go away. The computers began acting strange too, shutting down for no reason and losing data that should have been safely stored. Maya noticed other things as well. Sometimes she felt like someone was watching her, but when she turned around, nobody was there. Her car would not start 3 times in 1 week, even though it was almost new. Her apartment building's power went out twice, but only on her floor. The first real sign of trouble came on a Thursday evening. Maya was working late again when she heard footsteps in the hallway outside her lab. That was strange because the building should have been empty except for security guards. She looked at the time on her computer. It was almost midnight. The footsteps stopped right outside her door. Maya held her breath and listened. After a long moment, she heard them move. Away down the hall. She got up quietly and looked through the small window in her door. The hallway was empty, but she could see wet footprints on the floor, as if someone had been walking in the rain. It had not rained in 3 days. Maya called security, but when the guard came to check, the footprints were gone. The guard looked at her like she was crazy and told her she had been working too hard. Maybe she was seeing things because she was tired, but Maya knew what she had seen. She also knew that her instruments had been picking up strange energy readings around the building. Readings that did not match anything in any textbook she had ever read. The energy signatures were complex and seemed to move around the building, at night, as if something was circling them like a predator. 2 days later, Kevin and Lisa died. The official report said it was a gas leak in the basement that had filled their lab with poison air while they worked late. But Maya knew that lab had the best ventilation system in the building. She also knew that the gas detectors should have warned them long before the air became dangerous. At the funeral, Maya stood in the rain and watched her friends being buried. She knew that somehow her discovery had killed them. She did not understand how or why, but she was sure of it. Something out there did not want humans to have the power to travel between stars. That night, Maya packed all her research into a secure case and prepared to leave Chicago. She did not know where she would go, but she knew she could not stay. As she locked up her lab for what she thought might be the last time, she felt eyes watching her from the darkness outside. She was right to be afraid. In the shadows across the street, something that looked almost human smiled with too many teeth and made a call on a device that humans had never seen. Captain Jake Sullivan had seen enough strange things in his 20 years of military service to know when something was not right. The official report about the gas leak at the research facility made no sense. Good soldiers learned to trust their instincts, and Jake's instincts were screaming that someone was lying. Jake worked for Earth Defense Command, a military organization that most people did not know existed. His job was to investigate unusual incidents that might involve threats to national security. Usually, that meant checking out reports of strange aircraft or mysterious radio signals. This time, it meant looking into the deaths of 2 scientists and the disappearance of a third. Dr. Maya Brooks had vanished the same night her colleagues died. The police thought she might have run away because she felt guilty about surviving, when her friends did not. Jake thought there was more to the story. He had read Maya's research files, and what she had discovered could change everything humans knew about space travel. Jake's team consisted of Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez and Sergeant Paul Jackson. Amy was the smartest person Jake had ever met, able to analyze data and spot patterns that others missed. Paul was a former Special Forces soldier who could handle himself in any kind of fight. Together, they made a good team for investigating things that regular police could not handle. They started by examining the lab where Kevin Martinez and Lisa Thompson had died. The official investigators had already cleaned up most of the evidence, but Jake's team had better equipment and training. Amy's scanners immediately detected something the regular investigators had missed. "Captain, you need to see this," Amy said, pointing her instrument at the air vents. "I am picking up trace amounts of an unknown isotope. This is not any kind of gas that exists on Earth." Jake frowned as he looked at the readings on Amy's scanner. "Are you sure about that?" "Positive. The atomic structure is completely foreign. I have never seen anything like it in any database." Amy's voice was excited but worried at the same time. "Sir, I think we might be dealing with something not from this planet." Paul was examining the floor where the bodies had been found. His military training had taught him to notice details that others might miss. "Captain, take a look at this," he called out. "The burn marks on the floor do not match the pattern you would expect from a gas leak. They look more like weapon discharge marks." Jake knelt down next to Paul and studied the marks. His sergeant was right. These were not the kind of marks left by poisonous gas. They looked like the aftermath of some kind of energy weapon that Earth scientists had never invented. While Jake's team investigated the lab, Maya was hiding in a motel room 3 states away. She had driven non-stop for 18 hours, only stopping for gas and coffee. She knew someone was hunting her, but she did not know who or why. All she knew was that her friends were dead, and she would be next if she stayed in one place too long. Maya had brought copies of all her research with her. She spread the papers across the motel room bed and tried to understand what she had stumbled into. Her wormhole experiment had worked perfectly, but somehow it had also painted a target on her back. Someone or something did not want humans to have the power to travel instantly across space. She was so focused on her work that she almost missed the sound of footsteps outside her door. Maya froze and listened carefully. The footsteps had stopped right in front of her room. After a moment, she heard the electronic lock on her door begin to beep as someone tried to override it. Maya grabbed her research papers and ran to the bathroom window. It was small, but she was thin enough to squeeze through. She dropped to the ground outside just as her motel room door exploded inward. Through the bathroom window, she could see figures moving inside her room. They were shaped like humans, but they moved wrong, as if they were not used to walking on 2 legs. She ran to her car and drove away as fast as she could. In her rearview mirror, she saw 2 of the figures come outside and watch her leave. Even from a distance, she could tell there was something terribly wrong with the way they looked. Their faces were too smooth, and their eyes reflected light like an animal's eyes in the dark. Back at the research facility, Jake's investigation was interrupted by a call from his commanding officer. Colonel Beth Williams told him to return to base immediately and bring all his evidence with him. When Jake asked why, the colonel said only that some very important people wanted to talk to him about what he had found. At the base, Jake and his team were escorted to a secure briefing room deep underground. The room was filled with people Jake did not recognize, including several civilians in expensive suits and a woman who introduced herself as Admiral Sarah Stone. Jake had heard stories about Admiral Stone, but had never met her. She was supposed to be in charge of Earth's most secret defense projects. "Captain Sullivan," Admiral Stone began, "what I am about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. Your investigation has uncovered evidence of something we have been preparing for since the 1950s. We are not alone in the universe, and first contact is not going the way anyone hoped it would." Jake felt his world turn upside down as Admiral Stone explained the truth about Earth's situation. For 70 years, secret government programs had been detecting signs of alien activity around Earth. Radio telescopes had picked up communications between ships that were definitely not human. Satellites had photographed objects in space that moved in ways no human technology could achieve. "The aliens have been watching us," Admiral Stone continued. "We think they have been waiting for us to develop certain technologies. Dr. Brooks's wormhole experiment appears to have been the trigger they were waiting for. Now they are trying to eliminate her and destroy her research." Amy Rodriguez raised her hand nervously. "Admiral, why would they want to stop us from developing faster than light travel? Would they not want to make contact with us?" Admiral Stone's expression grew grim. "Lieutenant, we have been monitoring alien communications for decades. From what we can understand, there is an organization out there called the Galactic Confederation. They appear to control all faster-than-light travel in this part of the galaxy. Any species that develops independent FTL technology is seen as a threat to their power. So they kill anyone who gets too advanced," Paul said. "It was not a question. That is what the evidence suggests, Sergeant. Every few decades, we detect the destruction of entire star systems, always systems where our radio telescopes had previously detected signs of developing civilizations. The pattern is too consistent to be coincidence." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Admiral, Are you saying they plan to destroy Earth? We believe they will try to eliminate Dr. Brooks and her research first. If that fails, they may take more direct action against our entire planet. Admiral Stone stood up and activated a large screen on the wall. That is why we are activating Project Lighthouse. Dr. Brooks is now under the protection of Earth Defense. Command and you three are going to help keep her alive. The screen showed a satellite image of a convoy of black vehicles racing down a highway. In the lead car, Maya Brooks was talking on a secure phone to someone Jake could not see. We found her 2 hours ago, Admiral Stone explained. She is being brought to a secure facility where she can continue her work under military protection. Your job is to make sure the aliens do not get another chance to kill her. Jake looked at the screen and felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. If Admiral Stone was right, then Maya Brooks was the most important person on Earth. Her research could give humanity the power to defend itself against alien threats, or it could get the entire planet destroyed. Outside Earth's atmosphere, alien ships moved silently through the darkness, preparing for their next attempt to eliminate the human who had learned too much too fast. The underground facility in Colorado was built like a fortress. Maya walked through corridors carved deep into solid rock, protected by walls that could stop nuclear weapons. Colonel Beth Williams led her to a laboratory that was bigger and better, equipped than anything Maya had ever seen. This would be her new home until the alien threat was eliminated. Dr. Brooks, I know this is not what you expected when you became a scientist, Colonel Williams said as they entered the main lab. But your discovery has put you at the center of the most important conflict in human history. We need you to continue your research, and we need to keep you alive while you do it. Maya nodded as she looked around the lab. Everything she needed was here, plus equipment she had only dreamed of using. Colonel, how long have you known about the aliens? Long enough to prepare for this day, Colonel Williams replied. We have been building these facilities and training our people for decades. We always knew that eventually we would develop technology that would attract their attention. The facility was protected by Major Jake Sullivan's team, along with dozens of other soldiers specially trained for unconventional warfare. Amy Rodriguez had set up monitoring equipment throughout the complex, watching for any signs of alien activity. Paul Jackson led regular patrols to check the perimeter and make sure no unwanted visitors got too close. For the first week, everything seemed normal. Maya threw herself into her work, trying to understand how her wormhole technology could be improved and weaponized. She worked with Dr. Frank Lopez, a physicist who had been studying theoretical alien technology for years. Together, they made rapid progress on applications that could defend Earth from attack. But the aliens had not given up. They had sent something much more dangerous than the shape-shifting creatures that had killed Maya's friends. The Silent Choir was a group of beings that specialized in destroying enemies from the inside, using fear and madness as weapons instead of guns or bombs. The first sign of trouble came when Sergeant Jackson woke up screaming. He told his squad mates that he had dreamed of his family being torn apart by monsters with black eyes and silver teeth. The dream had been so real that he could still smell blood and hear screaming when he woke up. Other soldiers began having similar nightmares within days. Dr. Lopez was affected worse than the others. He started staying awake for days at a time, afraid to sleep because of what he might see in his dreams. When he did finally collapse from exhaustion, he would wake up convinced that Maya was not human. He became obsessed with the idea that she was actually an alien spy sent to destroy humanity from within. She is not one of us, Lopez whispered to Colonel Williams during a private meeting. I have been watching her, and she does not act right. She never seems afraid. Even when everyone else is terrified, that is not normal human behavior. Colonel Williams tried to convince Lopez that his fears were not rational, but the scientist would not listen. His paranoia grew stronger every day, fed by nightmares that felt more real than his waking hours. One night, Lopez snuck into Maya's lab with a pistol, planning to kill her before she could betray humanity to her alien masters. Maya was working late, as she often did, when Lopez crept up behind her. She heard his footsteps and turned around just as he raised the gun. "Dr. Lopez, what are you doing?" Maya asked calmly. Even with a weapon pointed at her, she did not seem afraid. "You are not human," Lopez said, his hands shaking as he aimed at her head. "I know what you really are. The nightmares showed me the truth. You are here to destroy us all." Major Sullivan and his team arrived just in time to stop Lopez from pulling the trigger. They had been monitoring the facility's security cameras and saw him enter Maya's lab with the weapon. Paul Jackson tackled Lopez to the ground, while Jake secured the pistol. As they dragged Lopez away, he kept screaming that Maya was an alien imposter. Colonel Williams ordered him to be sedated and placed under medical observation, but Maya was troubled by what had happened. She had noticed that she seemed to be the only person in the facility who was not affected by the nightmares and paranoia. Dr. Grace Kim, a neuroscientist who specialized in studying consciousness, was brought in to examine Maya and try to understand why she was immune to the alien mental attacks. Grace ran dozens of tests on Maya's brain, using equipment that could see individual neurons firing. "This is remarkable," Grace said as she studied the results. "Your brain shows quantum coherence patterns that I have never seen in a human before. It is as if your neurons are operating in perfect synchronization, like a quantum computer." Maya looked at the brain scans with fascination. "Could this be related to my exposure to the wormhole technology?" "That is my theory," Grace replied. "Your experiments with space-time distortion may have changed your brain at the quantum level. This could be why the alien mental attacks do not work on you. Your consciousness operates on a different frequency than normal human brains." While Grace studied Maya's unique brain patterns, the alien attacks on the facility intensified. The creatures responsible for the nightmares began manifesting physically, appearing as shadows that moved independently of any light source. Soldiers reported seeing dark figures in their peripheral vision, but when they turned to look directly, nothing was there. The facility's power systems began failing randomly, plunging sections of the complex into darkness. During these blackouts, personnel reported hearing voices speaking in languages that hurt their ears and made their minds feel fuzzy. Some soldiers found strange symbols carved into the walls of their quarters, symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Colonel Williams called for reinforcements, but even experienced soldiers were affected by the psychological warfare. The new arrivals began having nightmares within hours of entering the facility. Some became convinced that their weapons were actually alien devices designed to kill humans. Others became paranoid that their fellow soldiers were shape-shifting aliens in disguise. Maya continued working despite the chaos around her. She made a breakthrough when she learned how to reverse the polarity of her wormhole generators, creating spatial distortions that could tear apart solid matter. The first test of her new weapon completely vaporized a steel plate that was 6 inches thick. "If we can scale this up and mount it on spacecraft, we can defend Earth from alien invasion," Maya explained to Colonel Williams and Major Sullivan. "The same technology that allows instant travel can also be used to destroy anything that threatens us." Jake was impressed by Maya's progress, but he was worried about her mental state. While everyone else in the facility was being driven to madness by alien attacks, Maya seemed completely unaffected. She worked calmly while soldiers screamed in their sleep and scientists became paranoid and violent. "Maya, are you sure you are okay?" Jake asked during one of their daily briefings. "Everyone else here is struggling with the psychological attacks, but you seem perfectly normal." Maya paused in her work and looked at Jake with an expression he could not read. "I think normal is a relative term, Major. My brain has been changed by exposure to quantum fields that humans were never meant to experience. I may not be entirely human anymore, but I am still on humanity's side." That night, Jake stood guard outside Maya's lab and wondered if Dr. Lopez had been right to be suspicious. Maya was definitely not acting like a normal human being, but that might be exactly what humanity needed to survive. Sometimes, fighting monsters required becoming something monstrous yourself. In the darkness beyond the facility, alien entities that had no solid form circled like sharks, waiting for the right moment to strike. They had underestimated human resilience and adaptability. Maya Brooks was becoming something they had never encountered before, and they were beginning to realize that she might be more dangerous to them than they were to her. Maya's quantum lance weapon changed everything. Within weeks of her breakthrough, Earth's military factories were working around the clock to build the new weapons. Admiral Richard Stone coordinated the largest military production effort in human history, turning car factories and electronics plants into weapons manufacturing centers. Dr. Tony Martinez joined Maya's research team to help design better versions of the quantum lance. Tony was an engineer who specialized in making theoretical weapons into practical tools that soldiers could use in battle. He worked with Dr. Nancy Brown, a physicist who helped Maya understand the deeper implications of her discoveries. The quantum lance does not just destroy matter, Nancy explained during a team meeting. It actually removes the target from space-time entirely. The atoms do not explode or burn, they simply stop existing. This is the most powerful weapon humans have ever created. Maya nodded as she watched test footage of the quantum lance destroying alien probe ships that had been detected near Earth. The weapons worked perfectly, turning the enemy vessels into empty space in less than a second. But Maya knew that the aliens would not give up easily. In the depths of space, the Galactic Confederation was having heated debates about how to deal with the human problem. For the first time in thousands of years, a young species had developed, technology that posed a real threat to Confederation control. Some alien leaders wanted to negotiate with humanity, while others demanded total extermination. The Zephyrians were a philosophical species that believed in peaceful coexistence with other forms of life. Their representative, a being called Seer Vex High, argued that humans should be invited to join the Confederation as equals rather than being destroyed as enemies. The humans have proven their intelligence and creativity, Vex High said during a Confederation Council meeting. They developed faster-than-light travel independently without using our artifact network. This demonstrates exceptional capability that could benefit all member species. But the Krone Empire, a militaristic species that served as the Confederation's primary military force, disagreed strongly. Supreme Commander Thaxmore pounded his armored fist on the council table as he spoke. "The humans are a threat to galactic stability," Thaxmore declared. "They refuse to follow proper development protocols. They kill our agents and destroy our ships. They must be eliminated before they spread their chaos to other systems." While the aliens argued among themselves, Earth prepared for war. Admiral Stone launched Operation Defiance, the first human offensive against Confederation assets in space. Commander Lisa Parker led deep space reconnaissance missions to identify alien bases and supply depots that could be attacked. The first strike was against a Confederation monitoring station hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Captain Dan Foster commanded a squadron of fighters equipped with quantum lance weapons. They approached the alien base using stealth technology and attacked without warning. The battle lasted only minutes. The quantum lances tore through alien shields and armor like paper, destroying the entire facility before the aliens could send a distress signal. Foster's squadron returned to Earth without losing a single ship, proving that human weapons were superior to anything the Confederation had. More attacks followed over the next few weeks. Human strike teams destroyed supply depots, communication relays, and spy ships throughout the solar system. Each victory sent a message to the Confederation that Earth would not be an easy target. During one of these raids, Foster's team captured an alien officer who had survived the destruction of his ship. The prisoner was Seer Vex High, the Zephyrian. diplomat who had argued for peaceful contact with humanity. Under interrogation, HFY revealed shocking information about the Confederation's true nature. "You do not understand what you are fighting," HFY told his human captors. "The Confederation has destroyed hundreds of civilizations over the past millennium. Any species that develops independent FTL technology is marked for termination. Your planet is just the latest target in a campaign of systematic genocide." Jake Sullivan conducted the interrogation personally, using techniques he had learned during his military career. HFY seemed genuinely upset about his government's policies and was willing to provide intelligence that could help humanity survive. "How many species have you destroyed?" Jake asked. "I do not know the exact number," HFY replied sadly. "The records are classified, but I estimate at least 300 civilizations have been eliminated. The official reports always claim that these species destroyed themselves through war or environmental collapse, but the truth is that we killed them." Maya joined the interrogation sessions to learn more about Confederation technology and tactics. She was particularly interested in understanding how the aliens had developed faster than light travel without creating wormholes like she had. "We use a network of ancient artifacts scattered throughout the galaxy," HFY explained. "These artifacts were left behind by a species that existed millions of years ago. We do not understand how they work, but we can use them to travel instantly between star systems. Your wormhole technology bypasses our network entirely, which is why it threatens our power." The information from HFY helped Maya improve her weapons and develop new applications for her technology. She created a larger version of the quantum lance that could be mounted on space stations, capable of destroying entire fleets of enemy ships. She also began work on defensive systems that could protect Earth from alien attacks. But Maya's most dangerous encounter came when the entity known as the Whisper finally revealed itself. The Whisper was the leader of the Silent Choir, the alien assassination unit that had been trying to drive the humans insane with psychological warfare. It manifested in Maya's laboratory as a horrific fusion of organic and mechanical parts, held together by dark energy that hurt to look at directly. "You have caused considerable trouble, human," the Whisper said in a voice like breaking glass. "Your species was supposed to die quietly like all the others. Instead, you fight back and make us work for our victory." Maya faced the creature without fear, protected by her altered brain from its mental attacks. "Why do you kill entire civilizations? What do you gain from genocide?" "Control," the Whisper replied. "Order, stability. The galaxy is a chaotic place, full of young species that develop dangerous technologies. We bring peace by eliminating those who would disrupt the natural order." Jake Sullivan and his security team arrived just as the Whisper lunged at Maya with claws made of crystallized darkness. They opened fire with experimental quantum disruptors, weapons that Maya had designed specifically to fight beings like the Whisper. The creature screamed as the weapons tore apart its unnatural form, but it managed to escape through a spatial rift before they could destroy it completely. "Next time we meet, human, I will not underestimate you," the Whisper said as it fled. "Your species will join the extinct ones no matter how hard you fight." After the attack, Maya realized that the aliens feared her for more than just her technology. There was something about her transformation that they did not understand, something that threatened them on a fundamental level. She began to suspect that her exposure to quantum fields had changed her into something new, something that the Confederation had never encountered before. President Helen Carter decided it was time to send a message to the galaxy. She arranged a broadcast that would be transmitted to every Confederation world using captured alien communication equipment. Standing beside Maya, whose face was now known to every alien in the galaxy, President Carter delivered humanity's response to the assassination attempts. "You have tried to kill one woman to stop the progress of our entire species," President Carter said, looking directly into the camera. "You have failed. We are not afraid of you, and we will not be your victims." We know about your network of genocide, and we will not let you add Earth to your list of dead worlds." Carter paused and gestured to Maya, who stepped forward with quiet confidence. "Dr. Maya Brooks represents the best of humanity," Carter continued. "She is a scientist, an explorer, and a symbol of our refusal to surrender to fear. You sent assassins to kill her. We sent her research to every human colony and military base in the solar system. Your technology is no longer superior to ours." The broadcast ended with footage of human warships equipped with quantum lance weapons, destroying Confederation vessels throughout the solar system. The message was clear and simple. If the aliens wanted to try again, they would have to do better than assassination and psychological warfare. In the depths of space, the Confederation's Grand Fleet began preparing for the largest military operation in galactic history. Supreme Commander Thaxamore had been given permission to use whatever force was necessary to eliminate the human threat. 10,000 warships from 12 different species were gathering for an assault that would either destroy Earth or establish humanity as the galaxy's newest major power. The Grand Fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in the galaxy. 10,000 warships from 12 different alien species gathered at the edge of the solar system, their combined firepower capable of destroying entire planets. Supreme Commander Thaxamore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth through sensors that could see across impossible distances. "The human infestation ends today," Thaxamore announced to his fleet commanders. "We will show the galaxy what happens to species that refuse to accept Confederation authority. No ship leaves that planet alive." But Earth was not preparing for a desperate last stand. Maya Brooks had spent the months since President Carter's broadcast working on her most ambitious project yet. Deep beneath the Colorado facility, she had built something that would change the nature of warfare forever. The Genesis Gate was a massive wormhole generator, larger than anything Maya had previously created. It could transport Earth's entire defensive fleet instantly to any point in the galaxy, giving humanity the ability to strike anywhere without warning. Commander Steve Adams had volunteered to lead the first test mission, taking a small task force to the edge of Confederation space in a matter of seconds. "Jump successful," Adams reported as his ships emerged from the wormhole near a Confederation supply depot. "We are 300 light-years from Earth, and the enemy had no warning of our arrival. Beginning attack run now." The psychological impact on the Confederation was enormous. For thousands of years, their military strategy had been based on controlling all faster-than-light travel through their artifact network. Maya's technology made their vast territories impossible to defend, allowing human forces to appear anywhere in the galaxy without using Confederation jump points. Jake Sullivan, now promoted to general, led the most audacious mission in human history. Using the Genesis Gate, he transported a massive battle fleet directly to the Confederation capital world, arriving in orbit before their defenders could react. The alien homeworld had never been threatened by an outside force, and panic spread through their government as human warships surrounded their planet. "This is General Jake Sullivan of the Terran Defense Fleet," Jake broadcast on all Confederation communication frequencies. "We could destroy your civilization as easily as you have destroyed others, but we choose not to. We are here to deliver a message, not to commit genocide." The Confederation leadership was terrified. Their capital world was defended by orbital platforms and patrol fleets, but none of their weapons could match the range and power of human quantum lance technology. Jake's fleet could have reduced their cities to empty space within minutes, but instead, the human ships simply waited in orbit like patient predators. Maya had insisted on joining Jake's mission, despite the obvious dangers. She had undergone one final transformation, her exposure to quantum fields having changed her into something that was no longer entirely human. Her consciousness now operated on multiple levels simultaneously, allowing her to perceive reality in ways that biological brains were never meant to experience. "I need to be there for the final confrontation," Maya had told Jake before they departed. The Whisper will make one last attempt to stop us, and I am the only one who can face it." Maya was right. As Jake's fleet maintained its position over the Confederation capital, the Whisper manifested on the flagship's bridge. The entity had grown more powerful since their last encounter, feeding on the fear and desperation of billions of aliens who realized their empire was collapsing. "You cannot win, human," the Whisper hissed as it materialized in a cloud of dark energy. "I am eternal. I am inevitable. I have ended civilizations that existed before your star was born." But Maya was no longer the frightened scientist who had accidentally created a wormhole in a Chicago laboratory. Her transformation was complete. Her consciousness expanded beyond the limits of normal human experience. She faced the ancient entity without fear or hesitation. "You are not eternal," Maya said calmly. "You are just very old and very tired. Let me show you what you have really been doing all these years." Maya reached out with her transformed mind and forced the Whisper to experience the memories and emotions of every species it had helped exterminate. The ancient assassin, which had never felt empathy or remorse, was suddenly overwhelmed by the weight of millions of years of genocide. The Whisper saw through the eyes of children as their worlds burned. It felt the despair of parents watching their families die. It experienced the final moments of countless civilizations that had committed no crime except developing technology that threatened Confederation control. For the first time in its existence, the entity understood the true cost of its actions. "I did not know," the Whisper whispered as its form began to dissolve. "I never let myself see what we were really doing. The pain, the loss, the waste of so much potential." Maya watched without satisfaction as the creature that had terrorized her for months destroyed itself, unable to bear the weight of its own crimes. "Now you know," she said softly. "Now you can rest." With the Whisper gone, Maya turned her attention to the Confederation leadership. Using captured communication equipment, she broadcast a message that reached every world in their territory. But instead of threats, she showed them something that would shake their empire to its foundations. Maya opened permanent Genesis gates to star systems where the Confederation had committed genocide, allowing the ruins of dead civilizations to be seen by all member species. Ancient cities stood empty on airless worlds. Orbital habitats drifted in the darkness, their populations long since murdered. Archaeological sites told the stories of species that had been eliminated for the crime of scientific curiosity. "This is what your government has been doing in your name," Maya announced to the entire galaxy. "Hundreds of civilizations destroyed, not because they were dangerous, but because they threatened political control. You have been living a lie built on the bones of the innocent." The revelation destroyed the Confederation's moral authority overnight. Member species that had believed they were part of a peaceful alliance realized they were actually participants in systematic genocide. Revolts began on dozens of worlds as populations demanded answers from their leaders. The Zephyrians were the first to break away from the Confederation, followed by several other species that had been uncomfortable with the organization's policies. Seer Vex-High, who had provided crucial intelligence to humanity, became the leader of a new alliance based on cooperation rather than domination. Supreme Commander Thaxamor's Grand Fleet found itself without political support as the Confederation collapsed. Many ship commanders refused to attack Earth, unwilling to participate in another genocide now that they understood the true nature of their mission. The fleet broke apart as different species recalled their ships and returned home to deal with internal revolutions. Maya's final act was to ensure that humanity would never again be defenseless against alien threats. She shared her basic wormhole technology with the new Galactic Alliance, but kept her most advanced weapons secret. Earth would cooperate with other species, but it would do so from a position of strength. President Carter signed humanity's first interstellar treaty in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. Earth became a founding member of the new Galactic Alliance, an organization dedicated to peaceful exploration and mutual defense against species that might threaten innocent civilizations. Maya returned to a rebuilt version of her original laboratory in Chicago, now protected not by weapons, but by treaties and friendship with dozens of alien species. She continued her research into the fundamental nature of consciousness and reality, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Sometimes, late at night, Maya would stand on the observation deck of the orbiting research station that bore her name and look out at the stars. Human ships moved between them freely now, carrying explorers and scientists to worlds that had never seen visitors from Earth. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was finally free to explore. The aliens had sent assassins to kill one woman and eliminate her species. Earth had sent a message back that echoed across the galaxy. Humanity could not be killed, could not be stopped, and would not be anyone's victim. The choice was simple. Do better than genocide, do better than fear, or get out of the way. Maya smiled as she watched a human colony ship disappear into a wormhole, carrying families to a new world where they would build cities and raise children under alien suns. The future was bright and full of infinite possibilities, and humanity was just getting started.